This program is brought to you by the following proud sponsors. The automedia Group, the region's leading multimedia video production and marketing company, creating powerful and innovative marketing strategies that deliver exponential returns. And by the voice of your brand, engaging your audience, clients, and employees with a signature voice that is uniquely ageless and versatile, the perfect choice for practically any project. And by Paulson Manufacturing, saving the eyes and lives of workers and first responders by manufacturing the highest quality and most reliable safety protective gear in the world. And by StudioCast Pros, engaging your audience, elevating your brand, and enhancing your profits with professional quality e-learning, webcasts, and podcasts that stand out from the competition.
Welcome to California CEO Ongoing Business Spotlight Series. I'm Jeff Allen, and we've taken our camera crew on the road, and we are on location for this segment in Murrieta, California, where we are meeting with someone who has taken his passion for muscle cars and high-performance automotive and turned it into what is really quickly becoming a digital media empire. I'm talking about James Lawrence. He's the president and CEO of Power Automedia. And James, it's nice to have you.
Nice to see you.
It's nice to be here, and thank you so much for inviting us in. Give us kind of, for those people who haven't been here, and we had a chance to walk through your shop a little bit today, and I'm going to call it a shop, but that's not what it is. Tell us, give us maybe a 35,000-foot view of what your company is, what it does, and who you serve.
Jeff, Power Automedia is a digital media company in the automotive industry. So there's really two sides to our business. One side is we're a digital publisher of online magazines, and the other side is a video production business. It pretty much all revolves around our love of the cars.
Now, I've been a car fan my entire life, and one of the first things I can remember as a kid is going into the grocery store, the drugstore. You're able to take and go through the magazine aisle, and there were dozens and dozens of car magazines, and it seems like there are even more today. So my question is what were you able to bring to the table that was a little different? Was there kind of a void that you were trying to fill in the automotive media space through Power Automedia?
Well, there's been a big transition in digital media from traditional print going on for the last 4 to 8 years, and we were kind of at the forefront of that. We founded the company in 2007, and really it's just following what the consumer wanted. I was one of those kids when I was 16 years old. I had a big pile of hot rod and carcraft magazines that I would stack up in my closet, and every time I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do on my car, I would dive into the pile of magazines and find out whatever issue that had whatever I wanted. And the reality is today's reader and consumer doesn't generally operate like that anymore. Today, you've got Google search, you've got Facebook, you've got social media, and so if you've got a brand new Mustang and you want to modify it and you want to put exhaust or wheels and tires, the internet's really the first place you start doing your research. And so for us, it was really just looking at what the customer, the reader was doing and filling a void, like you said.
So you've pretty much always been kind of a car enthusiast for the most part.
Since I was 16 years old, I've been kind of a car nut, and got my hands dirty for a lot of years in racing in my early 20s, and have just always been passionate in the automotive industry, and have kind of a lifelong entrepreneur also. So combining those passions of the car and entrepreneurship has been a fun exercise.
It kind of made sense. What was it about cars, though, that you really took an interest in from the beginning?
There's really two things about the automotive hobby that I really love. One is there's a sense of culture and companionship, of just a shared passion that really cuts across demographics. You could be 75-year-old grandfather meeting a 13-year-old kid. My son's 3 years old, and he's a more passionate car enthusiast than you and I combined. he loves cars. And so, really that culture of 3 to 83, I just love kind of the shared vision and the beauty and the art of the car. It's not, to me, it's not just a transportation utility, but it's really something that's magical. And then I mentioned the competition aspect. I've really enjoyed racing, and I like measuring myself. I like measuring myself against others and competing with them. And so whether you're building a street car or a race car, there's always a little bit of car guys looking at each other going, whose car is faster, who's got more horsepower, whose paint's a little shinier. And so, I like the culture and the family style, but I also like kind of just the natural competition between car guys for who's got the better ride.
But you don't just like competition. I mean, you live it because you actually do have a competition drag race car. We've seen it here in the shop. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've kind of practiced what I preach. I'm hands-on. I've raced a car that makes about 2,000 horsepower and runs over 200 miles an hour. So, it's a thrill to get in the car. And, one of the things I'm proud of is, like, here at our company, we've got some different elements in our company, and one of those is a shop facility. You referenced, an automotive shop. We have that mainly for our magazines. So we built, as part of our facility here in Murrieta, it doesn't just have, the video production side and the magazine publishing side, which is really mainly writers and photographers, but we have a complete facility that can build, modify, test, dyno test, and engineer race cars and street cars. And we do that for our readers. So we can actually build the car, work on the car, show them how to install the part, how it performs on the dyno, which measures horsepower. And we built those race cars for the most part. Our car is 90% built in-house. So it's our own employees that have actually put the car together, which I guess I've got to be a pretty decent CEO, or maybe they might, miss a few bolts when they assemble it.
Well, the crew and I would love to talk to you about cars all day, and we could, but there's a business aspect to what it is that you do here. Let's talk a little bit about really the segment that you go after, not just the consumers, of course, and they come to you, and you've got 12 online magazines, but you've got a business component. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is that, we've got a pretty good audience. In our 12 magazines, we reach about 1.5 million people a month. We have over 5 million Facebook fans. So there's a lot of readers that are consuming the content. And so, the business aspect of what we do really comes down to, there's companies in the automotive industry that, want to communicate with those readers. And so if you make Corvette wheels and we have a Corvette magazine, we're a good home for you. And so, we offer advertising and marketing options for the automotive industry, on our magazines. So it's a pretty simple relationship, but it's one where it's trust relationship based. We've got to do a good job with a good authentic readership, so the readers come back over and over again. And then from the automotive industry side, we've got to do a good job for our clients. They want to make sure we've got a high quality reader and high quality content. So if you do your job and you get a good reader, you have happy clients because, they obviously want to introduce their wheels to that Corvette owner.
You touched on it just a little bit, but I'd like to kind of get a little bit more out of you with response to the response that you've received from your clients and from the readers. What are they saying? What do they like so much about what you guys are doing that they can't get at maybe the book stand at Barnes & Noble or at maybe the grocery store, in those magazines that most people are already familiar with?
Well, I think the first thing is that you have to look at online. People vote with their mouse or their keyboard, right? Ultimately, what I like about it is that people are going to vote with their readership. And so if they don't like what you're doing and they don't support what you're doing, they're really not going to read your articles, they're not going to go to your websites, they're not going to go to your magazine. If they like what you're doing and you've engaged them with good, relevant, powerful content, and that can be articles, videos, event coverage, or technical content, they're going to come, and that's where you get those numbers from. And so, it's been a learning process for us, first off, because, anytime you get into digital media, if you don't pay attention to your analytics, you're really missing the boat, because now you have the data at your fingertips to analyze, what is my readership liking? What don't they like? If somebody spends 6 minutes reading an article, or if they spend 60 seconds, there's something to be gleaned from that. And so part of it is just making sure that people are happy, and ultimately we know they're happy because they're reading, they're consuming videos, they're consuming content. And so we do hear from them on Facebook, of course. We do get emails from our readership. But the ultimate measuring stick is your audience growing? And it has for us. Since we've started, we've had consistent year gains. It's the same thing with your advertiser base, your client base. We do business with big companies and small companies, as big as GM and Ford, all the way down to kind of your mom and pops. And really they all want the same thing, which, I mean, it sounds cliched a little bit, but just give them a good value, be fair with the relationship, value the relationship. And in this case, they're just looking for good, high quality readers. So if you give them that and you do what you say, you'll have happy clients.
A little bit now, James, about kind of your philosophy with respect to your business and how this company really got started and what you believe is maybe the key to success. And I'll start by just kind of framing this all. When we walked into your building today, we were able to kind of get a sense of the culture just by walking around, by looking around. Yeah, I mean, say the culture is an intangible that you can't see, but that you believe. And I think that largely that's true, but this is different here. The place that you built here looks like it's built for your staff, for your employees. Tell us just a little bit about that. The idea that went into building this place and designing it the way that it is.
There's an interesting thing about culture. And kind of where I would start in answering this is to give you a very non-traditional answer. You'd reference the place that I built maybe as the CEO. One of the things that we talk a lot about here is that culture is not built from the top down. And one of the things that a lot of times people perceive about building a great culture is this idea that management or the leadership somehow creates the ecosystem and the culture, and then all the employees kind of just walk into it. And I use like a fish tank analogy, right? It's like I'm the CEO, so I created the fish tank, I put the water in it, I put the little treasure boat, I decorated the fish tank, I put the chemicals in, and then the employees are the fish. And that's how most people kind of perceive culture. And I think here we think of culture very differently. Every single person is responsible for the culture. Every employee, every team member, even new employees, even ones that have been here for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And so when you start taking a hand and a personal sense of responsibility for the culture, I think that's kind of the good beginnings. That's the underpinnings of building a special place to work, because everybody inside is responsible for making sure that it's a great place to work. And part of it starts with something we call our why statement. I'd love to take credit for this, but it was a guy named Simon Sinek that had a famous speech on YouTube. It was actually a TED conference speech called It Starts With Why. And the idea behind it is that you've got to really know, as the CEO of your business, why you exist. And profit is a terrible answer, because profit's a result. It's not really an objective. If you wake up in the morning and you say, what am I doing today? And you say, well, I'm going to make 20% EBITDA. I'm going to make a profit today. What ends up happening is your client comes to you and you go, okay, well, I'm going to bid this job as high as I possibly can and still get him to sign it. And then once he signs it, I'm going to figure out a way to give him the minimum that he expects. And then I've maximized my profit. I've got the most possible profit out of that client. Now, when you explain it that way, that's not sustainable, right? That's a bad structure. But the reality is that's how a lot of people just organically end up running their business. Maximize their price, minimize their investment, maximize profit. But if you start looking at profit, and this is I'm paraphrasing some of Simon Sinek. If you look at profit as a result from a job well done, it really starts with, why do you get up in the morning? So when you wake up in the morning, why do you get up?
So James Lawrence, then let me turn it around and put it to you. Why do you wake up in the morning?
Well, that's one of the interesting things about Simon Sinek's concept, and it's a little controversial. It's, why does the CEO or whoever ultimately makes the decisions in that business, it's why do they wake up? And that doesn't sound very egalitarian, right? It doesn't sound very democratic. It should be like, hey, let's get the whole team together and let's negotiate out, why does everybody wake up in the morning? Kind of like how most mission statements are made, right? Let's create a committee for the mission statement. Let's get everybody together and we'll negotiate out a mission statement. The problem is the mission statement ends up being a negotiated disaster, right? It's like some corporate speak, like to improve everybody's welfare through good corporate governance, like it's some dry kind of statement, right? Whereas like Apple, which is a great mission statement to talk about, is like think different, right? So like the difference is what Simon Sinek says is whoever ultimately makes that decisions has to articulate why they make those decisions. And so for our business, this took me quite some time. And it was difficult to introduce because it's like I watched some of these speeches and thought about this, and then I had to walk into my leadership meeting and go, all right, everybody, I'm going to tell you why I run this business the way I do, and I want you to decide if you want to follow it or not. So it sounds a little, arrogant, but really it's true because at the end of the day, I'm responsible for resource allocation. I'm responsible for deciding where, some of the critical investments are made or what our strategic direction is. I need to be able to articulate my reasoning behind it. So for us, it takes a little soul searching. And so the question Simon Sinek asks is, why do you get up in the morning? Well, my first one is, I believe in the magic of the automobile. Like, I don't come to work thinking like, oh, I'm running an automotive media company because that's how I'm going to make a lot of money. I love it because I believe in the magic of the automobile. So our first why statement that we talk about internally is, we believe in the magic of the automobile. That doesn't mean everybody needs to believe in the magic of the automobile, but it means they need to resonate with that statement. And so if you come in and you think, I'm going to be an employee here, but I don't really care about cars and I think they're just, they don't matter to me, you're probably not our person.
Well, it's apparent to me when I came in and we started talking to people that the people who are here genuinely seem to like cars. I mean, they seem to be into it. I mean, and that's why they're here.
Right.
I mean, did I read that wrong?
No, that's right. I mean, because we articulate our why statement. In fact, every job posting that we make lists why we exist, what we're looking for. We even have a quote from Steve Jobs in there about looking in the mirror and loving what you do and saying, are you going to be a passionate fit for this job? Now, one of the questions I get asked a lot is like, even in the interview process, say you have somebody applying for an accounting position or a shipping position, and they might say, well, I kind of like cars, but like, that's not my dying passion. Like, do you have to have somebody that is a, gigantic auto enthusiast to work here? And that's why you have to kind of dive deeper in your why statement and get beyond just one statement. And so one of our other statements is building a special place to work. And that's something that, again, does originate, from the CEO, which is really putting your money where your mouth is and saying, this can't be just another job. It's got to be a special company. We've got to do special things. We've got to create a special environment. And, this sounds a little funny, but I know I'm doing a good job when someone that's left the company, whether they quit to go, work for someone else, or let's say they, got let go for some reason, for whatever reason, separated from the company, comes back at some point and says, wow, you guys are really special. I wish I'd never left. Or that was the best place I ever worked. Or, my memories and my friendships there were everlasting. I think that's kind of like a good barometer. You've built a special place to work when it makes a mark on someone's life.
James, Power Auto Media could be anywhere. You could have taken the business could have grown up in Silicon Valley, could have grown up in Los Angeles, the Orange Coast, but you're in the city of Murrieta. Tell us a little bit about Power Auto Media's growth in the city and what the city of Murrieta had to offer your business.
Well, we actually founded the company in Orange County in 2006, and Orange County was a good place to live, but ultimately we kind of realized with the footprint of what we wanted to do here, which was build a tech space with, an automotive facility with, some traditional office space, but also a video production, studio. Orange County didn't make a lot of sense for us in that we had a, kind of a young workforce and more of a tech-savvy workforce, and we had to look for somewhere to move. I mean, we really didn't know where we were going to go, but we knew that Orange County, it just didn't make financial sense for us. And we wanted to find a place that was family-friendly, that was tech-savvy, but also a place that, had some opportunities in real estate. And, looking through Riverside County, San Diego, and Orange County, we found the Murrieta area, and it kind of checked off all the boxes. It was, pretty tech-savvy area. We were able to get and attract talent from San Diego, Riverside, and even Orange County. The housing and family value side was good. There was affordable housing, and ultimately, we started talking to the city, and they seemed pretty good to work with.
Now, have you always been in this particular location where we're sitting right now, this facility?
No, this facility we actually bought and built 3 years ago, and it was a pretty interactive process with the city because this is a real tech flex space, and while some of this type of facility is under construction here, this is really something that we had to work with the city to kind of build ground up for our own use. And so we bought what was essentially an empty industrial building and worked with the city to get some permitting to make it a tech flex space, and did about 10,000 square foot of office construction here in the interior. It's kind of funny. Sometimes people walk into our office and they kind of look around and they go, wow, it's like a version of Facebook. And while we would fit in a tiny little corner of Facebook, it's kind of a fun complement. And this is not the easiest facility to build, or wasn't the easiest facility to build. And it's kind of a complement to city planning. They really work with us.
Around this area, there are a lot of other companies, startups, some that have been around for quite some time, that view Murrieta as kind of a new hub in Southern California for innovation and for innovative economic development. Is it important for a company like yours to kind of be involved with these other companies, with like-minded companies like that in this area where you can get that kind of support?
Well, I think it's kind of like the theory of rising tides floats all boats. I mean, ultimately, we do need employees that have a good technical background. And so, I think having a larger base of tech businesses does create an ecosystem of training, of, really bringing up the, potential employment base in an area. We don't necessarily work really tightly with other local companies, but really, I think just having a tech-savvy city and having, tech businesses in that city is a real benefit to anybody that's really kind of interested in digital. And I think the interesting thing is that, for us, we're obviously just media, but, digital businesses can be robotics, they can be medical. I mean, there's a whole variety of kind of offshoots of digital and tech that I think are all kind of in that same vein. And, really we're kind of all profiling, attracting the same type of employee. And so if there's more jobs here, there's going to be more people that want to live here to work in those jobs. So, I think it's a benefit for us. One of the big advantages of kind of Murrieta, and it's kind of a hidden secret, so to speak, a little bit, I think, in the tech world is that we've got, for Southern California, you're an hour from San Diego, an hour from Orange County, but you have relatively inexpensive real estate. So we've got, younger tech-savvy employees are actually able to have a good kind of standard of living. They can afford a house here if they've got young families. In Orange County, they'd be piled into a one-bedroom apartment. Out here, they're maybe able to rent or buy a house. And so for us, that helps a lot because we do have, those younger employees that, want a higher quality of life. And, Southern California isn't inexpensive. So Murrieta is kind of a great alternative to Orange County or San Diego.
So Power Auto Media, what's next?
That's a fun question to answer because when you have a why statement that says you believe in the magic of the cars and you want to build a special place to work, you can kind of follow your heart more than necessarily following a P&L plan. And so for us, it's really the idea of creating fun, relevant products that kind of fulfill our why statements. Why do we get up in the morning? Well, we're going to build really cool stuff that we really dig, right? Kind of like how Apple might operate or Facebook or Google might operate is, really kind of chasing the passion of the marketplace. And in this case, our team and our employees, they're huge car nuts. So we don't have to look very far for good ideas and new products. And so it really comes down to, a team-based approach and, looking at what new markets we might want to approach or what new products we might want to develop, but really making sure that our culture and our family values stay intact.
And on that optimistic note, we're going to leave it right there. James Lawrence, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
And that's going to wrap it up for this edition of California CEO Business Spotlight. To learn more about Power Auto Media, all you have to do is click on over to powerautomedia.com. And to view more stories here on California CEO, it's californiaceo.net. My name is Jeff Allen. Thanks so much for watching California CEO. We'll see you next time.
This program is brought to you by the following proud sponsors: the automedia Group, the region's leading multimedia video production and marketing company, creating powerful and innovative marketing strategies that deliver exponential returns. And by the voice of your brand, engaging your audience, clients, and employees with a signature voice that is uniquely ageless and versatile, the perfect choice for practically any project. And by Paulson Manufacturing, saving the eyes and lives of workers and first responders by manufacturing the highest quality and most reliable safety protective gear in the world. And by StudioCast Pros, engaging your audience, elevating your brand, and enhancing your profits with professional quality e-learning, webcasts, and podcasts that stand out from the competition.